The Bears offense is historically bad. Like, really bad. I'm Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Tuesday, September 27th, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback today is Chicago's Justin Fields. But for how much longer? Somehow the Bears are 2-1, but this is simply not sustainable. In an atrocious game against the Texans in Week 3, Fields went 8 of 17 for 106 yards and 2 interceptions, with 8 for 47 rushing, which at least was a season high. This is right now, though, a historically bad passing game. Now, we have to be completely fair here. It was something we just completely harped on it all offseason, and so did Bears fans. Justin Fields' line isn't good, and his receiving core is really bad, okay? Those are two major caveats here. But he absolutely has no idea what he's looking at right now, and he's delivering the ball with no confidence whatsoever. Now, his first interception against the Texans was a correct read, but a terribly inaccurate ball to Cole Kmet on his skinny post. He just sailed the ball. And his second interception was both a bad read and a bad throw, as he sailed the ball to Darnell Mooney in triple coverage. Now, Fields will get as many chances to fix this as the Bears can handle. And here's why. Neither Bear general manager Ryan Poles nor coach Matt Eberflus were part of the regime that drafted him. So they won't be held accountable for Fields' failures. This is not a team that needs to win games this year, and certainly doesn't need to win them on the arm of their quarterback. Evaluation is the most important part for Poles and Eberflus this season. But the Fields we've seen so far has given Chicago absolutely no reason to have faith in him, and that's showing up in the play calling. Remember, Chicago had Fields throw 11 passes in a game they trailed by 3 scores in Week 2. You might just say, and I would probably agree with you, what harm is it to just let them uncork the ball 30 times? And if you lose by 40, then you lose by 40. Again, you're not losing your job. But it tells me how little confidence they have in Fields. And just how bad is this offense? Fields and the Bears are the first team to have 3 consecutive games with fewer than 10 completed passes since 2011. You might remember them. They were the Tim Tebow-led Broncos. In our first running back spot is someone you're unlikely to have for the next 3 weeks. The Lions have been snake-bitten by injuries across their roster to open the season, and they probably should petition the NFL to move up their Week 6 bye by a couple of weeks. Now, running back DeAndre Swift is one of those players who has struggled to stay on the field because of an ankle injury, and he could be looking at a multi-week absence after adding a shoulder injury in Week 3. Swift has managed just 17 touches in the last 2 weeks, and he fell short for fantasy against the Vikings. That was the first time, at least, he fell short for fantasy this year, with no touchdowns and just 46 scrimmage yards. Our Edwin Porras believes the most logical explanation is that Swift aggravated an AC joint sprain, which cost him some time last season. The shoulder injury alone could keep him out anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks, but when combined with his ankle issue, it's looking like the Lions should just shut down Swift for the next 2 games through their Week 6 bye to let both his ankle and shoulder injuries heal. And that's what Coach Dan Campbell insinuated they would do in his Monday press conference. Now, with Swift out, Jamal Williams will take over as the team's lead back while Swift is out of the lineup, with Craig Reynolds mixing in behind him. Williams is probably rostered in your league and is a must-start while Swift is out. Now, if Williams isn't available in your league, Reynolds is a decent speculative add if you're really hurting at running back. In our second running back spot, we reluctantly head back to Chicago. Bears running back David Montgomery got twisted up awkwardly in the Bears Week 3 win over the Texans, leaving with what the club termed a knee/ankle injury after playing just 11 snaps. The knee and ankle designation might mean 2 separate injuries, which certainly would increase the risk he misses significant time. Now, our Dr. Edwin Porras, after looking at the video, had fears for both an MCL issue and a high ankle sprain, though it was tough to see clearly. And remember, These things are inexact science. Remember the Najee Harris situation from earlier this year. Now, somewhat surprisingly, Coach Matt Eberflus said on Monday that Montgomery is day-to-day. That's per Courtney Cronin of ESPN. And if you've watched this very program, you know how annoying and meaningless the term day-to-day is. But let's just humor Eberflus here and presume Montgomery misses just a week or two. What further complicates matters is that backup Khalil Herbert looked fantastic. He had 20 carries for 157 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns against the Texans, and he added 2 for 12 receiving while playing just 38 offensive snaps. Now, our Greg Cosell at Fantasy Points thought all offseason that Herbert was a better fit for the Bears' new zone blocking scheme under Luke Getsy, better fit than Montgomery at least, who is more of a gap scheme runner. Now, what if Herbert continues to look great? It's possible that even if Montgomery misses a week or two, the shorter end of a time frame, Herbert is too good to take off the field. With the Bears sporting one of the worst offenses in the league, that may be too much for Montgomery to overcome on a path to fantasy relevance. Obviously, Khalil Herbert is a priority waiver ad if he's out there, folks. In our first wide receiver spot, it's the Panthers' DJ Moore. This one hurts. Expectations were high around Moore heading into the 2022 season because he seemingly had the best quarterback situation of his career. On this program back in August, I broke down the Baker Mayfield numbers. They were better than Sam Darnold's by a lot. Well, remember, by the way, that DJ Moore is a guy with 3 straight 1,100-yard seasons playing with busted Cam Newton, Teddy Bridgewater, and Darnold. Well, we're 3 games into the season, and Baker Mayfield has proven to be anything but an upgrade for Moore. Mayfield is averaging just 6.8 yards per attempt, which has been severely aided by fluky long TDs to Robbie Anderson on a busted coverage and Laviska Shenault breaking all kinds of tackles. And Mayfield's completing just 51.9% of his passes so far. That's even worse when throwing to Moore because he's completed just 7 of 18 targets to DJ. That's a 38.9% completion rate for just 88 yards receiving and a touchdown. That includes just 1 miserable 2-yard connection on 6 targets against the Saints in week 3. Moore, at least, saw a 24% target share against New Orleans in a win, by the way. But that's about the only positive we can take away from his week 3 performance. He's topped out at 6 targets in each of his first 3 games, and he has absolutely no chemistry with the miserable Baker. So feel free to bench him until they show any kind of rapport. Really, he's kind of just like a better version of Darnell Mooney right now. That's not good. At our other wide receiver spot, however, is someone about to get peppered with targets. Well, he already is getting peppered with targets, but now he's getting in even more. Kyler Murray dropped back over 60 times in the Cardinals' week 3 loss to the Rams, and when he did, he was looking for Marquise Brown more often than not. Hollywood was targeted 17 times, catching 14 passes for 140 yards. That now gives Brown double-digit targets in back-to-back weeks, and he is now the overall wide receiver 9 through 3 games. Right now, the Cardinals have literally nothing else on the perimeter. AJ Green is hurt, and DeAndre Hopkins will miss the next 3 games with his continued suspension. Green, by the way, was diagnosed with a bone bruise, and Cardinals coach Cliff Kingsbury said on Monday that he could miss at least 1 week. Darren Urban of the Cardinals official site reports. Now, if Cliff says at least 1 week, this might be career-threatening, given how liberally he uses the term day-to-day. All joking aside, Green looks 15 shades of dusty, even without the injury. So this isn't going to help him get targets when he gets back. The Cardinals receiving core right now is Brown, slot revelation Greg Dortch, and a bunch of guys, including the 2 tenors, Andre Baccellia and Andy Isabella. This offense stinks, but Brown is getting a ton of volume. In our flex spot, we have more concerns at the running back position, this time with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is off to a disappointing start for fantasy as he's yet to hit 15 or more fantasy points in each of his first 3 games. And now we're concerned about his long-term availability after he picked up yet another shoulder injury in week 3. Cook is expected to wear a brace and play through the injury starting in week 4, but his backup, the Federalist, Alexander Mattison, could see an uptick in playing time. Now, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell said on Monday that Cook is considered day-to-day. There's that term again. This is per Chris Thomason of the St. Paul Pioneer Press. And indeed, Cook did suffer a dislocated shoulder and torn labrum in week 12 last year, missed one game, then came back with a harness and ran for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns just 1 week later. But here's what our Dr. Edwin Porras said. The Vikings have already said Cook is day-to-day. Every time this happens, though, the shoulder injury, chances of it happening again go up, whether he's wearing the sling or not. This has always been the concern with Cook. At the risk of sounding alarmist, Edwin says, the floor here is really continued subluxations until he needs surgery. The Federalist is obviously a priority ad, while Ty Chandler, the rookie running back out of North Carolina, could get some waiver run in deeper leagues. And if you have Cook, you just hope he plays through it and doesn't get hurt again, which gets harder to do with each passing injury. This is something that will eventually require surgery. I'm Joe Dolan, and thanks for joining me for a new week of the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. Remember, like this video just by hitting the thumbs up. Put a comment down there. A nice comment always helps us out as well. And subscribe to the Fantasy Points channel for the daily lineup and all of our videos. Now, as the injuries and the news pile up, you need to adjust your fantasy roster. That's where fantasypoints.com comes in. You can get the standard package for if you're just managing a couple of redraft leagues. But if you like betting, you like DFS, you're going to want our premium package, which also has something coming soon that is going to beef that up. But whatever the case, use code lineup22 and get a 10% discount on any package that you choose. And both packages give you direct access to the staff in our subscriber Discord. An underutilized feature, but me and Ben Kukanis, who's behind the glass right now, have been continuing to push it, and the numbers are ticking up on the Discord. Come talk to me in the Discord, and I'll see you tomorrow morning here on the Daily Lineup.